Oh, well, first of all, good afternoon, everybody. I'm going to touch on a few things that are going to be a bit odd and awkward to you, but as we settled in and towards the middle to the back end, it'll all tie itself in. So bear with me. We'll leave some questions to the very end, and I do want to make sure that I thank everybody for attending today, taking their time. So I'm going to share some of our personal experiences with you, and please feel free to email me, text me, call me afterwards, and I'm happy to walk you through anything that you wanna know. Most of what I talk about and most experiences for us are to improve the installation process. So we do have some floor covering manufacturers with us today, and everything has to do with a collaborative effort. We want to ensure that every time we walk out onto a floor and we go to install it, we want to make sure that we're delivering the best and optimal results rather for them as well as for us. So let me just do this. So we'll start off.
Don, I got a question for you. When you fill up one of those toolboxes, that big green lead toolbox with $3,000 worth of tools, and it goes missing on site, what do? You file a insurance claim or what?
You do. The big thing is documentation. Most sites now that we're on, they have video cameras all over the place. We don't typically see a large toolbox disappear anymore. What we do see is just small hand tools missing, and they're usually because we're misplacing them. But typically, we stopped, sending out a posse to look for the tools throughout the site because chances are that they're not there. So it's essentially an insurance. We carry insurance on all of our tools on site, and we try to ensure that they're locked up and put away at the end of each and every day. Most general contractors provide us a storage area, so it's a good thing. So we still do have some small stuff missing, but yeah, it's insurance, and it's not worth the time to run around trying to locate tools.
Exactly. One installer for an hour looking for a pair of knee pads is not efficient, right?
Absolutely. So floor installers, new essentials, what's in your toolbox, much like the commercial, what's in your wallet. It's critical that we're always looking forward and we're embracing new technologies. I really encourage everyone to continue to stay current and up to education of everything that there is out there. So we noticed that one of the biggest challenges today is going to be hot off the press. We'll talk a little bit about that. We'll talk about the innovation in construction, expectation in managing it, invest in the right tool and in quality tool. Efficiency is the operator, not the machine. So a lot of times people think, oh my God, this machine is amazing, but the guy that's carrying the machine, he kind of makes it do what it wants to do. So hot off the press is labor. The number one challenge today, folks, is labor. Cynthia Leach is a senior director of economic leadership at RBC. And in this article, she explained that Canada currently registered approximately 4 million tradespeople, of which 25% require upgraded skills in technology as well as soft skills. So we see a lot of soft skills missing on site, how to handle your peers, and that's something that's now being really addressed by individual employers. But collaboration is definitely something that we need to work on. Problem solving and negotiation is critical. But Leach also said, as machines become more advanced, they will be relied on to do more of the routine tasks done by people. However, the so-called human skills will still be equally important. So we can't just rely on the tool to push us through a job. We have to know how to use that tool.
Did you see that LinkedIn post go out the other day where there was an automatic hot welding tool?
I did, yeah.
Slowly creeping across like 50 feet of flooring.
Yeah, absolutely.
That was pretty impressive.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're hearing across the industry that there's a shortage of people, said Tom Rothfisher, the national industry leader for KPMG. So in this article, he talks about construction and real estate practices. When you're putting in low-cost bids, and this is something that not everybody does, but there is very little room for innovation, and there's very little room to try new things because the risk is generally downloaded to the trade contractor. But Rothfisher also went on to say that increased use of digital tools such as robots and drones can help companies save time and money. and reduce waste and improve the worker safety. I have to say I was very impressed. Yesterday we had a prominent, very large, very significant general contracting firm come through with a group of their estimators. And this is one of the things that we talked about is innovation and how we implement tool usage and how we're continuously investing and what we see as the future, because labor is such a pain point for all of us that we're really looking forward to a lot of the upgraded skill sets.
Just finish that thought. A prominent GC came to your shop with estimators, etc.?
Yeah, they did. We've had great communications, and we've stayed away from some of the larger infrastructure. But the GC obviously has some faith in us, and I think what it is we're starting to see general contractors, large general contractors, really try to find great partnerships and partnerships that really have an invested interest in not only the industry and in that market segment, but also in the people. So we're starting to see a very good collaboration, and we were pleasantly surprised and also quite happy that they came over and spent an hour and a half with us.
I could not agree more. There's a change in the climate out there for that sort of thing. Our experience with the quality assurance program and third-party inspections is that now when it appears in the documents, the general contractor reaches out to us before they've even poured their slabs to say, what slab surface does your floor covering guys need? So we don't have rejection of slab at the last, late stage construction, and that's a huge step forward for construction.
Absolutely, and this is where it all starts with some of this innovation in construction. So, here you see the slide with surveying drones, and we clearly see new innovation in technology such as that now have become much more significant in everything that we do. It's not something that we use in our business, but drones became an instrument used by military initially, if everybody kind of reflects back, for defense and offense purposes. But now it's more mainstream. Tools such as that are used by Amazon for deliveries. Medical organ transfers are done by drones. Marketing firms use it for real estate and for projects, and film studios and construction disciplines, to name just a few. The challenge, the challenges were not only in adopting the technology, but also how to extend the life of the worker. So in a more recent report in the Vancouver Sun, as you can see there, highlighted how the construction industry is slow to adopt technology. A big part of that delay is the initial investment and the cost recovery, which are amortized with a much longer timeline. So very quietly behind the scenes, we took a page out of film. And what does that look like? Well, the early adopters, yes, the film industry was one of the early adopters of something that's called an exoskeleton. So Tom Cruise wore an 85-pound suit in The Edge of Tomorrow in 2014. Matt Damon wore something similar in Asylum. Elysium Story in 2013, and The Surge in 2016 with Ben Whishaw. And some of us thought at that time, watching these movies, it was just a movie thing. But now watching this evolve in Europe, it's in the real world. So how do you put a price on fatigue? How do you put a price on longevity of the body? So in 2020, and this is from a CBC report uncovered they uncovered rather that was going behind the scenes. And the reality is that there's tools such as exoskeletons, which were created and invented exactly for this purpose, and already in use in some construction markets in Canada. The United States has seen this as well. But I know personally in Alberta and Ontario that this is actually employed right now. Some of it is trial, but it is definitely being used. And it's now become a technology race to the market. Who can create the lightest, most agile, durable, and effective body saver? So the reality is this was once a movie thing that's now turned into a, hey, we can use this potentially in other fields. So we've seen numerous forms of exoskeletons being used in medical and rehab. As you can see, that's something that's been explored in the probably last 10 years. Military is starting to use that in the United States. Automotive manufacturing, Ford Motor Company, Mercedes, and I believe Honda are using exoskeletons for any type of service and mechanical work in their assembly lines, and interior finishes as well as warehousing. So In the interior finishes, a lot of this market is based in the UK, and in offshore, we see a lot of warehousing. But now I've heard through some contacts in the industry that warehousing facilities in the United States are trying on these exoskeletons to prevent injuries, workplace injuries, and fatigue. So we also see robotic units now being developed, or ground drones, as we call them. They're used for land surveying and layouts, as well as road marking and parking lines. But how does this all start to transfer into the flooring world? Interestingly enough, the little picture that you see of it's called the BIM-driven layout unit. This little thing, if you haven't seen it, check it out on LinkedIn or Instagram. It is the coolest thing next to sliced bread, I tell you. You see this on a floor plate in a high rise, and it actually stencils out an entire layout for anybody. So no more really surveying and snapping chalk lines and spraying hairspray on it so it doesn't get erased. This little robot can survey a 15,000 square foot floor plate in about 2 hours. So it's incredible what we're seeing as far as new technology goes. So in flooring, starting with ceramic tile manufacturers, obviously have several acres of land, million square foot manufacturing facilities now that see kilometers of extruders, kilns, and dry lines. So interesting, you can see the tiles coming off the line straight onto a stacker where they're picked up by a programmed robotic forklift, that little yellow unit on the bottom in the corner. And slabs are also produced and now lifted by robotic lift systems, which are equipped with suction cups. So the old days of having overhead lines or having 2 or 3 guys trying to slide something off of a line is pretty much gone, and that's the case in Europe and in Asia. So all of this is designed to improve efficiency and the speed of the process, but human eyes are still used in many situations where they're looking for imperfections or defects, but the physicality is pretty much gone. Something else that'll be interesting to everybody, robotic machines have now been tested in Asia. And this is interesting. If you see the photo up above, it's a thin set mortar application machine, as well as a robotic arm for the application. So this little one on the bottom, it basically suction cups a ceramic tile off of a pallet, and it just sticks it on behind. So the robotic arm, it has 2 arms on this unit. One puts the thin set down, and the other one follows it up with a ceramic tile installation. It's still in early infancy stages. I don't think we're going to see that coming into North America, but it's tried on right now in Europe and in Asia, and it's picking up steam in some cases. Lifting of the large format tile in the form of a crate, yes. So you can see the 2 guys in the top of your screen. You know, they're using a frame system to lift up a large porcelain panel. And now we're starting to see small skilled slab lifters that can be employed onto any job site. There are still some challenges with that, especially if you're working in an uneven area or an uneven floor to move this little product around. But if you've got a smooth, flat, large area, you can definitely start using this to lift your porcelain tiles. So the tile industry is advancing a lot quicker than the soft surface where we come from. So at the end of the day, what are the client's expectations? How are you managing them? That's a question we always ask. So using 3D scanning now, in order to identify high and low spots, you can speak to the problem and solution in advance, and therefore meeting the tolerances that will net a positive result. These procedures do come at a cost, but remember what we said earlier, investing in technology, it really does work. So in this photo, you can see we've now employed this twice. We've outsourced it. We don't have the technology for this, but this is a great indicator to a general contractor of any significant size. If you are doing a large, several floors, whether you're working in a hospital or a mall or an airport, you know, when we talk about one of our biggest challenges, Chris, and you can attest to this, is self-leveling and floor flatness. And this is a great map. This is something that identifies through the heat map exactly where your high and low spots are, and where you may have to apply additional self-leveling material, and where you might have to grind an area.
I know that picture well. All the red areas were low,
right.
All the blue areas were high. And
that's right.
Sure gave you a heads up as to what was needed.
That's correct. And that's a great way to identify, you know, it just eliminates the fight. It's, you know, that technology doesn't lie. It's very different than running around with a straight edge or maybe a level. And of course, now you're seeing, in these photos, you're looking at different opportunity or different types of tools. One thing that we invest heavily in is we've got rotating laser levels. So investing in using a laser level in today's flooring installation application has never been more crucial. Our guys in-house here have been trained. Several of our account managers have been trained how to use it and shoot the elevations. And it's nothing more than an indicator of what has to happen. So there's many models to choose from. We don't promote necessarily one. You choose whichever one you feel most comfortable with. Everybody's entitled to doing their own research, whether it's Makita, Hilti, DeWalt, or whoever. There's many, many different brands out there. But the laser method is very different from a straight edge, and both can be used. But you've got to understand what the result that you're looking for is gonna give you. The other thing is a neat little tool, and you can see in the bottom corner, right-hand corner, something called tripods for height tolerances. It's a simple way to gauge your pour once you shoot your elevation, and we use a very good local self-leveling guy. He's a great contractor to us, a great partner to us, and one of the nice things is he's fully equipped with all these tools. We do small stuff in-house that we can handle, but this is something that he uses on a regular level, as well as a large type of a format screed. So he's invested heavily in large format screed tools, and it's not just a matter of mixing some thin set in a 5-gallon bucket and throwing it down one bucket at a time. This is something that you can really develop a large floor plate very quickly. So when we talk about managing the expectation, so this is one of Chris's old slides I stole from him. Using one of Chris's illustrations, of course, you can see the result in a straight edge application before and after. Had the early work been done with the client, managing the expectation would not have been a fire drill. And you can see in Chris's illustration there, and I love this illustration, and I'm glad that you let me use it, is because you can definitely see what the raw concrete shows and what it looks like, and then what it looks like at the very end as a result, and what the customer is getting. So that conversation really shouldn't have even happened by the time you went in to inspect it. So if anyone here online is watching this and they're getting some flashbacks, I sure am, and this is from my own personal experiences in photojournal. I'm right there with you. So hand scraping was so much fun. 2 layers of glue down commercial carpet, VCT blackout, or the fan favorite paperback vinyl. Those are great days. And I'm just saying that tongue in cheek, but now in some very small instances, I get it. You have no choice but to hand scrape. But I want everybody to start thinking smarter, not harder, and putting a guy on your square buff or on your rotating sander to put weight down so you can get the adhesive off is probably not the right thing to do. So what we did with our company is we invested in a very good machine. It's a Prep Master tool. I don't mind sharing the product name. This was a job that we did. It had 2 layers of adhesive down. One of them was a really heavy multi-purpose, high-end multi-purpose, and putting guys down on a large area like this, it just didn't work, and we put our machine right to use. So we decided to invest in a double-headed 6-tool machine. We covered our labor we converted rather our labor from 3 men per day with approximately 1,000 square feet, or just under 1,000 square feet, to 1 man, 1 machine, and about 1,500 square feet per day. So the savings are not just on the labor time, but also on the production schedule. But once you get the rhythm down of the machine, the physical body saving is massive. Not only do you have more men available to allocate to other projects and other critical areas, but you have guys actually wanting to run the machine because it's a bit of a break for them, and it's relatively effortless. Once they get the rhythm of it, stopping the machine every so many hundred square feet, they stop, they sweep the floor a little bit, and off they go. So 2 layers of heat is tough stuff.
Would you say you reduce the risk of inconsistent results because 3 guys might do it differently if they have a smaller tool each?
Absolutely, Chris. So we all know, if anybody watching today or following along knows when you're on a grinder, hand grinder, or in a scraper, your first 2 hours are relatively the most productive out of a 7 or an 8 hour day. And your body mass and your body weight and your head pressure is very different. When you employ a 1,200 pound machine or a 1,000 pound machine or an 800 pound machine, the weight factor doesn't change. It just continues to plow through it. So you're getting that consistency. And once you dial in what your floor is expected to look like afterwards, it's a home run. It really is very, very different. So, sometimes those of you that watched it, that have done it before, you've got to go back and re-scrape some areas because you were tired in the 6th hour or at the end of a day. You didn't have any more pressure in you. You just got to go back and re-scrape it. And again, you're adding that workload. Whereas with a machine, it just continues to go. So this is another one. So when you're facing a rained out slab, use the machine to speed up the floor prep. You can't level over weak substrates. Everybody knows that. That's a rule of thumb. We've experienced in my previous life people trying to self-level over rained out slabs, and as self-leveling compounds cure, the tensile pull just pulls everything off the floor. You've got nothing but a failure. Sometimes it's a very quick transition to the failure. Sometimes it takes a while until you get the slab load, but it will fail. So be that shop that controls the quality of the substrate. We always try to take it head on, and we offer that service to general contractor instead of getting into that tug of war where they're going to cheap out and they're going to use their own guys. And having us reject the substrate. This is just something that we've got the bodies available. We put a tool on the floor, and we can rotate over a 10 or 2 week period. We can rotate several 2 or 3 guys. This gives them a break, but shaving off the weak latents off the surface in the rained out slab is a huge benefit for us. Again, small investment in tools such as this. Don't displace your subcontractors or the leveling requirements. Like I said, we have a great subcontractor that we use locally here that does a lot of our leveling and floor prep. We just have this small little grinder that's supplemental to that service, and on small areas that we can handle or we want to keep our guys busy. He still gets the lion's share of our business, but we definitely see these tools as something to have in our toolbox. We typically partner with tremendous subcontractors, and again, we continuously talk to them, and we're working through all the costs with them. But again, nothing beats a machine now. So in this situation, efficiency is definitely the operator, not the machine. You can see this machine, it's a ride-on Panther. So we encourage people that operate it. We only have a couple of guys in our company that are authorized and that are trained to work it, but ride it like you stole it. Scraping 1,800 square feet of VCT took 2 men a day. And had we done this by hand with scrapers and shovels and different things, it would have taken 3 times easily that long. So we really leverage these ride-on tools and these types of processes. They're body savers, but they're also efficiency, kind of ideas that we look at where we can really come back and look at what the deficiency of a floor is, what's required to patch, level, and flatten the floor, and based on what we're installing, we can speak to the contractor. So a little bit of an investment up front, but leverages over the long period. And with that, it's a pretty quick one today. If you guys have any questions, so go out there, update your toolbox. Lots of new toys to help you with time, efficiency, quality, and profitability. I can't tell you enough how many times I've talked to general contractors that they just don't believe in I don't want to spend this much money. It's way too much. But yeah, maybe you don't use it right away and you don't use it every single day. But when you do have that tool in your toolbox, you feel that much more confident, that much more comfortable, and you're going to see that pay off huge. So
how have you found the transition from sort of muscle mindset to machine mindset? Like, old habits die hard because we learn our skills for years and it's hard to sort of shelve them and now go in a completely different direction. Have you had any resistance with your crews?
We haven't. I mean, to be quite honest with you, most of the guys are happy to get off the physical labor. the other thing too that we find is it's difficult enough to get new young recruits on, and putting them on tough physical jobs like scraping floors and floor prep for a long period of time. They do lose interest, and we're trying to attract versus detract. And guys have fun using tools. They like to plug in the machine, and they put their earbuds in, and they put their phone on, and off they go. And I think guys are embracing it. I think that's the saving grace in the industry. Much like you saw the exoskeletons in some overhead buildings, drywallers are using it to hold up board. It's huge when a drywaller or an electrician has to do overhead work for hours and hours at a time, saving on his elbows and his shoulders. It's massive, and on the neck support. So we're seeing improvements in technology all across the construction industry, and our industry as a whole, I think, needs to move in a much more progressive way. So if these are little tools that can help facilitate a better substrate and really provide a good smooth surface for the floor manufacturer's product to go down, I think it's incumbent upon us to invest in them. If you've got a good partner, general contractor, to be quite honest with you, and you share that information with them, I think they're going to be less apprehensive about costs, and they'll actually endorse it and support you on it. And we've been very blessed to partner up with some really great GCs, including the one that visited us yesterday.
Nice. I think I couldn't sort of agree with you more. This generation of youth coming into the trades, replacing the old guard that are retiring, because they have access to the internet and they've grown up with it, they see the tools that are available. They can do the research themselves and know exactly what it could be like on site. And so probably come to a job interview with an expectation that their bodies won't be beaten up over a short period of time because the tools aren't being used. Back in the 80s or earlier, you had to do it in the aggressive way, the way that would hurt your body over time, because there was really no choice.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we're in a different time and era. I mean, we clearly, safety is of the utmost importance to us. Everything from eyewear to respirators and steel toe boots. Anybody can go on YouTube and see these guys in some third world countries. I even have pictures of early stages when my father came here to work. I mean, he went to work in flip-flops, and he was a plumber on construction sites, and he's wearing flip-flops to work, and that was acceptable. And today that's not. But we see
flip-flops, surely, because you're in Vancouver.
Yeah, that's right. But we see now, I mean, with self-leveling contractors, one of our very good partners here that he does a lot of self-leveling for us. He has fancy new tool or buckets where he can mix 2, 3, 4 bags at a time. It's got an attached drill to the bucket, and the process is incredible. Yeah, he's invested in the actual tool itself, maybe a couple $1,000, but he's got maybe 5, 6, 7, 8 of these things that he's got in various sites, and it's huge. The other thing too is calculating your efficiency. When your crews, whether it's a male or female, the distance that they walk from a mixing station to where the material is being deposited. If you calculate, maybe it doesn't take a lot of time, 30 seconds, but you calculate that walk back and forth to be 60, 70 times a day, and you calculate that over a course of a week. That's how granular we've gotten to really breaking down all of our costs. So is that labor and that walking worth it? Find a way to mix where you're working and find a way to be efficient at it. And I applaud everybody that invests in these technologies. They're small investments, or they're, in some cases, they're large investments, but they're small steps in the right direction. And I think that's where our flooring industry at least has to look at.
Yeah. And I guess with mechanization, you get less chance of failure, and that's a whole nother conversation. The waste of time when things go wrong, and to have to back the truck up, jackhammer it out, and start again. Wow, millions and millions of dollars. And
again, everything, Chris, starts with an early conversation. We're very blessed. We start early. with all of our contract partners, with the general contractors. We have early conversations before, in some cases slabs get poured, but we're upfront. And we discuss everything. I encourage everybody to reach out to your partner general contractors that you're working with, visit their sites early, have the conversations, be there before the slabs get poured. And if you can, have that open discussion with them, what your expectations are. And I think they'll value that from you.
As early as possible.
Agreed. And again, not to fly the NFCA flag, but I'm gonna stand on the soapbox and say Chris Maskell has been an incredible champion for the National Floor Covering Association. I encourage everybody to reach out to him. He's a great asset, a great tool, a great resource. The NFCA standards are there to protect, but they're also there to guideline the applicators and the general contractors to success. They're not there to create a speed bump and a hurdle for everyone. So that's where we've really been blessed, and you've been a great resource as the entire association has been.
Wow, I appreciate that, Don. Thank you.
You bet.
Are there any questions from the audience before we let Don get back to his busy day? I don't think so. So, well, for those folks still on the call, thanks very much for attending.